Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into the absolute bedrock principle of economics. Whether you're setting the pricing strategy for a massive corporation or you just want a better grip on basic market dynamics, this one concept literally dictates how our world operates. We are, of course, talking about the law of demand. Okay, let's dive into this. Sing about a completely relatable everyday scenario. Have you ever walked down a store aisle, seen a giant neon 50% off sign on something you maybe only mildly wanted, and suddenly you're putting three of them into your cart? Why exactly do we do that? Why is it that when prices drop, our appetite to buy seemingly multiplies out of nowhere? Well, it's the everyday psychology of shopping, and there's actually a very strict economic rule governing it. And here's the formal definition that answers that exact question. The law of demand basically states that the quantity of a commodity increases when the price falls, and it decreases when the price rises. It's a wonderfully simple inverse relationship. Just picture a direct tether between the price tag on a shelf and the physical amount of stuff we're willing to toss into our carts. When one goes up, the other comes down. But as with all things in economics, you know there's a catch. So, the crucial point is this highly specific phrase, other things being equal. In Latin, economists love to call this ceteris paribus. This phrase is the absolute foundation of the law of demand. Without this strict boundary, the entire rule just completely falls apart. You can't just say lower prices mean higher demand, unless you can guarantee that the world around the consumer is totally frozen in place. Let's slow down for a second and look at exactly what we mean by other things. For our economic law to hold perfectly true, a whole list of assumptions has to remain completely constant. First up, think about the individual consumer. Their income, that simply cannot change. Because, right, if you suddenly win the lottery, you might keep buying expensive things even if the price goes way up. Likewise, their personal tastes and preferences must stay exactly the same. Then, consider the broader market dynamics. The prices of related goods, like substitute products, they haven't moved at all. The size and composition of the population, totally static. There are no sudden changes in government policies or taxes. And finally, expectations of future prices haven't shifted. People don't think the market is going to suddenly crash tomorrow. Only when all of these variables are completely locked in place can we truly observe the law of demand in action. Moving on to our next section, the demand schedule, moving from theory to concrete data. Now, what's really interesting here is the crystal clear mathematical trend unfolding right in front of us. On the left side of our schedule, we've got the price of apples in rupees per kilogram, and on the right, we've got the quantity demanded in kilograms. Just watch what happens as we read down the data. At 100 rupees, the consumer only buys 1 kilogram, but as that price drops to 90, the quantity doubles to 2 kilograms. When it drops to 80, they're buying 4 kilograms, and by the time the price drops to 70 rupees, the quantity demanded has surged all the way up to 6 kilograms. We're not just seeing random fluctuations here, we're looking at a highly predictable inverse correlation, where lowering that financial barrier directly multiplies consumption.
Let's move to our next section, plotting the curve, the visual payoff.
All right, here is where the magic happens. Let's build out a canvas to actually visualize that raw data. On the vertical y-axis, we have the price in rupees, starting from 0 at the bottom and going all the way up to 100. On the horizontal x-axis, we have the quantity of apples in kilograms, stretching from 1 to 6. This exact framework is the foundation for our demand curve, which, by the way, economists label as the DD curve.
Imagine constructing this graph alongside me. We take our table data and we plot it point by point, moving right along from left to right. Step 1. We go high on the y-axis to 100 rupees and over just one tick on the x-axis to 1 kilogram. That right there is point A. Step 2. The price drops to 90, so we move down slightly and over to 2 kilograms for point B. Step 3. The price drops to 80 and the quantity jumps to 4 kilograms. There's point C. And finally, step 4. We drop down to 70 rupees and slide all the way over to 6 kilograms to plot point D. When we connect these dots from A all the way down to D, we trace out our curve.
Just look at the shape we've created. It's a negative, downward slope cascading from the top left down to the bottom right. Now, this isn't just a random line. It is the ultimate visual proof of a rational consumer in a market. It proves that as you lower the barrier to entry, meaning the price, the consumer's willingness and ability to buy absolutely expands. The downward slope is the literal graphical representation of that fundamental inverse relationship between price and quantity. And this brilliantly illustrates the whole concept. Think of this dynamic as a mechanical seesaw. On one side, we have a heavy iron weight representing price. On the other side, we have a shopping basket representing quantity demanded. It perfectly cements this inverse relationship right in your memory. When the heavy price weight pushes down on one side, it naturally elevates the quantity demanded on the other. It's a physical balance that dictates how markets function every single day, provided, of course, those other factors remain perfectly still.
But that brings us to a fascinating question to wrap up our explainer today. We've proven the rule when everything is completely frozen. But let's be real, the real world is incredibly messy. So if price is just one half of this seesaw, what actually happens to our downward sloping curve when those other things, like a sudden surge in our income or a massive shift in cultural trends, just aren't equal anymore? How does the seesaw balance then? It's a question that opens up a whole new layer of economics, and honestly, it's something to think very carefully about the next time you're setting a business strategy or even just standing in the grocery aisle.